Welcome back. Netflix says it is walking away from its deal to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, clearing the path for Paramount to now acquire the company. Paramount's latest offer raised its bid for the entire company to $31 per share. Now that's above Netflix's offer of less than $28 a share for just Warner's studio and streaming business. Netflix calling the new price it would have to pay to acquire WBD no longer financially attractive. Paramount has also agreed to pay a nearly $3 billion breakup fee to Netflix. The proposed merger of Warner Brothers and the David Ellison-owned Paramount has raised alarm bells for some because of antitrust concerns, as well as Ellison and his father's close relationship with President Trump. Joining us now is Oliver Darcy, founder and lead author of Status. Oliver, it's good to see you here. Paramount went at this bid more than once, and during that process, David Ellison, we know, met privately with Donald Trump. The Netflix CEO also had meetings at the White House just yesterday. So what changed between Paramount's initial offer being rejected to Paramount appearing to be on this glide path?
Well, something clearly happened, or it seems to have happened at the White House yesterday when Ted Sarandos met with Donald Trump's chief of staff and the Department of Justice. And let's remind viewers, or Donald Trump really wanted this deal to include CNN. He said as much out loud in late December. He said any deal for Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns CNN, should include CNN changing ownership hands because he hates CNN. He's hated CNN for the last 10 years, and he wants to change the editorial direction of CNN. David Ellison, a ally of his, really, a MAGA-friendly owner, has come and had offered to buy all of Warner Brothers Discovery, including CNN. This Netflix deal was not going to include CNN. It was going to end up having that network being spun off into an independent entity. And so Donald Trump probably didn't like that deal very much and wanted Ellison, who is already revamping CBS News to be more friendly to his administration, to also own CNN. And so we don't know what happened in those White House meetings yesterday when Ted Sarandos went and met with Trump officials, but it probably wasn't very good. And at the same time, Paramount had increased their bid for Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns CNN. And so at the end of the day, Ellison ends up walking away with this. Netflix refuses to counter their bid, and it seems like the path is cleared for David Ellison to own this giant media conglomerate.
I want to underscore your point about Paramount now standing to add CNN to its portfolio. Paramount is already in control of CBS. We've seen a lot of criticism that the network has been overly compliant toward the Trump administration. Oliver, you and I both worked at CNN at one point. What could this mean for CNN's future?
I think it's pretty clear, and staffers are seeing the writing on the wall, and they are in panic mode. I mean, yesterday I spoke to a number of staffers who are fearful about the changes that are certain to come under David Ellison's ownership. And those changes include being more friendly to Donald Trump. Like that's the clear way to say this. This network is going to become more MAGA friendly under Donald Trump. That's what Donald Trump wants to see. That's why he helped deliver this giant deal to David Ellison. And if you look at what David Ellison has done since he took over CBS News, I mean, it's clear as day, whether it's installing a CBS News evening anchor who salutes Marco Rubio and does softball interviews with Donald Trump, whether it's Barry Weiss holding that 60 Minutes piece before ultimately deciding to run it. There have been a number of changes at CBS News that indicate that that network is being more friendly to Trump administration officials. And I think at CNN, those changes are going to be a lot more dramatic. Remember, Donald Trump is obsessed with CNN. He watches it all the time. It's always on in the White House. He cares very much about the tone of the network and the posture of the network toward his administration. I suspect that David Ellison is going to come in and make some sweeping changes over at that network. And, you know, it's not even me suspecting it, to be honest, at this point, Anna. They're pretty much telegraphing this out loud.
And here's just a sampling of what the Ellison family would be in control of if this deal does go through. Oracle, TikTok, CBS, CNN, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, Warner Brothers, and Paramount Pictures. Oliver, that much power under one family's control. What are the implications, not just for the industry, but for the American public?
It's incredibly alarming, Anna, to think about that much power to shape the information ecosystem being concentrated with one family, and to think about how Donald Trump has delivered a number of these deals to David Ellison, specifically because he's friendly with the Ellison family. He's friendly with Larry Ellison. That's why Larry Ellison is probably involved in that TikTok deal. They got Paramount. His administration cleared the way for David Ellison to get Paramount and CBS News because of that relationship, or at least largely because of that relationship and because of what they've done there. Remember, they canceled Stephen Colbert's show, and there's been a number of changes over there on the entertainment side. And now they're going to own Warner Brother Discovery and control HBO and, again, CNN. And so you think about how much power is being concentrated in the hands of this family. It's quite frightening. And it's not only them. You know, there's only a few media owners these days in the United States, and they control a large swath of what the public sees and hears. You're already seeing some Democrats express significant alarm. Chris Murphy, the Democratic senator, said that Paramount should enjoy their growing news empire while they can, vowing that when Democrats take over, they are going to break up these news companies. So I think a lot more to be seen on that front as well.
Yeah, it all depends on voters and who gets elected, especially in the midterms. Thank you, Oliver Darcy.